Good morning, everyone. This is Veeam calling. My name is Steve Dawes, and I'm the Services Director here at Veeam. Welcome to episode 2 of season 4 of our INOOT webinars. Thanks for joining. The purpose of our webinars is to focus on technology trends, to look out for new, innovative, disruptive technology from the leading vendors that we believe that can deliver advantage to you and your business. So as usual, we're using Zoom to record the webinar. So there'll be a recording later. We'll be taking a poll through the webinar, questions and answers, and the prize draw at the end. So today we're joined by Veeam, and the focus is preparing for the inevitable breach with sort of next generation backup and recovery strategy. And we believe most businesses will experience some sort of security breach at some point. So a robust recovery strategy is really essential. So that's what we're going to focus on today. So I'd like to introduce 2 people who are joining me. Dean Flynn, who's our solutions architect. Good morning, Dean.
Morning, Steve. Morning, everyone.
And Nick Stankovic from Veeam. Morning, Nick.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here today.
Okay, so let's just, I always like to look back on history a little bit. So on this day, 30th of October, interesting, 1994, I don't know if anyone can remember this, but there was a bug found in the Pentium processor discovered by Thomas Nicely at Lindbergh College. It was a hardware bug that affected the floating point unit. And because of the bug, processors just couldn't calculate floating points when dividing numbers. So there's an interesting IT-related stat from 1994 on the 30th of October. But more importantly, this is all about INOOT. And really for us, this is all about educating, informing you as a troubleshooter that walks in your shoes. And our approach is very much understanding your challenge, working with you throughout the life cycle of that challenge, and using our services ecosystem and our partners to help deliver that capability. And we've got a tremendous breadth, depth, scale of resource that you've got access to. But when we're looking at this topic today, in particular with Veeam, over the last 6 or 8 months, we have implemented a number of Veeam solutions during the pandemic. But I think saying that we've absolutely implemented it ourselves and utilizing Veeam's availability suite, we've put a full backup and DR strategy in place. So we're actually practicing what we're preaching here today. And initially, this was for our on-premise solution. We're partway through migrating to Microsoft 365. Moving to the cloud, so we'll be continuing to use the Veeam solution for our own backup capability. So I think it's fair to say that we practice what we preach. So today is very much focused around 2 areas of our solutions: Pathfinder, pretty much the data, and the security around that data. So that's what we're going to talk about. So I'll now hand over to Dean. I think you're going to frame the session a little bit more, Dean. So the floor's yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Steve. As Steve suggested there, I just want to frame the conversation and try to get you in the mindset of where these solutions fit and where we might be able to have conversations. So if we take a quick look at this slide, those of you who were on the last INOOT will know we were talking about identity and access management as the first line of defense for breach. Following that thread, what we're talking about today effectively is your last line of defense, so your recovery and remediation strategy. So there is a loose thread through this series, and I'd very much like for you to think in terms of this being quite holistic. Controversial, Veeam being on the call, but Veeam is not the only option. If a significant portion of your estate is physical, if you need something more enterprise, closer to CDP, dependent on the applications that we're covering, or something that's more orchestrated, please do speak to the team. There are solutions that are more cloud native if that's your poison or the direction of travel. So I would always urge you to speak to the Servium team to sanity check what you might be thinking yourselves. There are broader conversations to be had, even where you are happy with your existing backup solution. I'm thinking file data, storage tiering, data classification, data loss prevention, and as mentioned previously, taking advantage of hybrid and multi-cloud implementations to augment or extend existing implementations. Things like replacement of tape archive, that's quite common. A common reason to start to utilize cloud and storage tiering. Conversation tends to be technical, but what I'm here to do and part of the framing is to make sure that we're thinking in terms of outcomes. If you need some guidance on justification and a roadmap to getting something like Veeam implemented, please do speak to the team. I'm going to go into this in a little bit more depth in a sec. Finally, leading into the next INOOT, just very briefly, that perennial challenge of infrastructure lifecycle and keeping a holistic view is something that's at the heart of how Servium operates. So we want to make sure that you're selecting technology that is right for you, and the next INOOT will walk through some of the best practice methodology around infrastructure lifecycle. So if you can make it onto that, we look forward to seeing you there. Cheers, Steve. Next slide. Thank you. So just some things to think about as we run through the Veeam slides. And you may have heard these acronyms before. Hopefully you have if you're on a backup INOOT. But I want us to start to think in terms of what RPOs and RTOs are today. And what is stopping me improving these? I see a lot of inertia when it comes to backup and recovery, despite improvements in compression, deduplication, incremental synthetic full backups, WAN acceleration, those sorts of things. It's one area that reminds me of banking. We tend to stick with what we know, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'd like for us to start to think in terms of why we can't improve RPOs and RTOs, especially as technology is enabling some quite dramatic improvements in that space. Secondly, how would my RTOs and RPOs be impacted by a compromised backup? We've mentioned ransomware, where Steve mentioned ransomware at the top, and we are starting to see ransomware that specifically targets backups or that operates on a time delay. I was reading a white paper recently around the average ransomware incident being resolved 16 days after payload delivery at this time, up from 12 days last year. So maybe a trend there in terms of these time delay payloads. Are your existing backups immutable? I know Veeam will be looking at that through their slides. The worst possible thing is that a payload compromises your backups and you cannot recover to a reasonable point in time. So let's start thinking about that. Okay, third point, what is the management overhead of my current solution? And this is something that we don't talk about enough. Things like unscheduled downtime, working over the weekend, resources being, resources firefighting as opposed to being on the front foot. Do you have more than one backup tool? That's something that's quite common. Could your organization benefit from things being more streamlined and orchestrated? 4, now this is crucial, and lots of organizations are guilty of this. A flat backup strategy is something that is probably more common than not. So I want you to start to think in terms of what your business critical applications are. Do you tier policy by criticality? The backup and recovery requirements, the data retention requirements, the uptime requirements are different per application. An ERP is not the same as a print server, for instance. So there are lots of solutions around today that facilitate that kind of thinking and strategy regards policy. Am I aware of these key applications dependencies? I'm thinking databases, third-party applications. Think of applications and dependencies and tier policy by business criticality. That is best practice. What would be the material cost of downtime equivalent to my RPO? And this all feeds into that thinking about what the business impact would be. Why do we do these things? Backup tools are not just tools, they give business benefit or organization benefit. It's all around uptime. And a quick bit of maths that's quite useful. I know it's an inexact science, but for genuinely business critical applications, a 24-hour RPO is essentially the organization's turnover divided by 365. If you're out for 24 hours and it is business critical, you effectively are down a day's work. A 4-hour RPO is company turnover divided by 2,190, I've got in my notes, which is a huge improvement, and that's exponential. So the lower you get your RPO, the less in the way of business impact or negative business impact there is. What are my high transaction applications? So what would be the material cost of data loss equivalent to my RTO? So I'm thinking banks, particularly B2C organizations. There's certain industry verticals that have lots of high transaction applications. So that change data is a huge factor in what the acceptable level of RPO and RTO might be. And all of that stuff should inform policy. What about the reputational risk of downtime and data loss? To use an extreme example, if a bank lost the record of all of my transactions for a day, they'd be in trouble. I'd be moving very, very quickly. Or if someone like Amazon lost 15 minutes of orders, that would not be acceptable, and the reputational risk would be huge. And that should feed into how you tier and what acceptable RPOs and RTOs are. What about SaaS and the cloud? Do I need to back up my SaaS applications? How does public cloud adoption affect my backup and DR strategy? Touched on this on the previous slide, but there are native tools and cloud specific and born in the cloud tooling that can facilitate the backup of infrastructure as a service. Equally, there are tools that will help you back up your SaaS applications. So that's something to think about. Can you utilize public cloud to potentially avoid a storage headache? That's another thing that comes up quite frequently. Okay, finally, in terms of this slide, is my backup and DR policy documented? It's unbelievable, but this is something that sometimes doesn't exist within businesses, and decision-making authorities, C-level individuals are not aware of DR policy, even though it may materially impact on a business's ability to operate. When was the last time I performed a DR test? On paper, I could probably run a 10-second 100 meters, but reality is very, very different. And it's one of those things we've got to make sure that backup policy, that disaster recovery can be implemented and is rooted in reality. So again, documentation is something to think about. If there are any questions around any of this and how we might frame technology acquisition and thinking about technology acquisition as holistic and having impact on other areas of infrastructure, if there are any questions, I would urge you to get in touch with the team, with your account managers, and we can set up a one-to-one call. Thank you very much for listening to me frame. I'm now going to hand over to Nick at Veeam, who's going to take you through Veeam backup and availability.
Okay, Dean, thank you very much. Once again, hello, everyone. And let me proceed to the next slide. Yeah, so first of all, I'd like to talk a bit about VMvision on cloud data management, probably for those of you who may not be really well familiar with that concept these days. But I have to mention that these days it's getting more and more popular, the idea of cloud data management. Yeah, and we'll start with a little bit of it. So cloud data management is something that enables customers to achieve unparalleled data availability, mobility, visibility, automation, and governance across data centers at the edge and in the cloud. And as modern IT organizations look to innovate faster legacy backup solutions and recovery infrastructure, they just can support customers' forward-looking initiatives. And customers today want more from their platforms. And with cloud data management capabilities, they can easily surpass legacy approaches to data protection by providing next steps beyond just a regular backup. And as customers undergo rapid digital transformation, data is becoming more and more critical each and every day to their business success. Data is key to everything they now do, from understanding their customers better to driving more efficient business processes for maximum profitability. And with this laser focus on data innovation to drive business acceleration, lots of new challenges have emerged in ensuring all the data is agile, available, and connected. And Veeam's approach to cloud data management enables us to align with customers' needs and help to solve real-world challenges, ensuring data availability while helping businesses to be more agile by using data to accelerate their businesses. As we can see on this picture, we have, let's call them 5 core pillars. That's backup and recovery, cloud mobility, monitoring and analytics, orchestration and automation, and for sure, really popular one these days, that's governance and compliance. So as for backup and recovery, so that's a sort of intuitive, I just want to give you a short description of each of these core pillars. So as for backup and recovery, that's sort of intuitive backup solution that just works, that is fully software defined with application awareness that ensures granular and verified recoverability of all critical assets. Then cloud mobility, portability and protection and restore of workloads across any cloud or platform, including intuitive guidance on how to best store and archive protected data using scale cloud options. Then that's monitoring and analytics. That's sort of AI-driven infrastructure monitoring and diagnostics, included automation remediation of unexpected issues for your critical backup NDR processes. Now that's automation. In terms of automation, that's a sort of intelligent testing and orchestration for BCDR, I mean, business continuity and disaster recovery, and migration operations at the same time, coupled with integrated DevOps capabilities to assist deployment and availability of applications across any platforms. And now let's talk a bit about governance and compliance to assess application security, compliance, and privacy needed to adhere to strict guidelines before deployment without any impact on the production system or increased costs. That's about our 5 main core pillars and how we can help you to with the cloud journey. Yeah, we have a sort of a single platform, not a sort of, but a single platform that's built around really well-known, popular Veeam backup application, the core component. Actually, to be more precise, it builds around Veeam availability suite. So set of our products and solutions, not products, really a set of solutions, is capable of helping our customers with almost any types of workloads that exist. There's a cloud workload, specifically saying Microsoft Azure, then AWS workloads, IBM Cloud, etc. And to say more, as for Azure and AWS, that's agentless data protection of virtual machines and workloads running over there. Then software as a service protection, specifically saying we have a solution that's capable of helping with backup for Office 365, no matter what's there, if it's Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, OneDrive. And to say more, that's really nice and popular Microsoft Teams that's widely used these days for collaboration by most of the companies. Virtual workloads, VMware, Hyper-V, Nutanix, HV, agentless backup of those platforms, physical. And to say more, we do integrate with, if you are more about physical stuff, yeah, that happens these days still. We do integrate with lots of physical storage devices. And to say more, once again, we can easily help you to store the data in different types of object storage in public clouds if you've decided to take that, to adopt cloud approaches, cloud ideas these days. Okay, and let's talk a bit about, more sensitive topic. That's ransomware protection. We all know that these days, ransomware, that's a real huge problem, not only ransomware, yeah, but different types of malware, viruses, etc. And within our product portfolio, we do have a number of technologies that's capable of helping our customers with ransomware protection, malware protection, any type of protection, to say so. First of all, yeah, that's backup. That's, basement thing. Backup helps to protect, but not only that. We have such technologies like Sure Backup. Sure Backup is the technology that's capable of automatically spinning up backups for spinning up virtual machine directly from backups in automatically created isolated environment to see if everything is properly working there inside, if actually OSs can be started, if the applications and services will be started. So it means that it helps you to be 100% sure that everything will really work in case of real need, and that no ransomware, no viruses inside, etc. That's really huge. From my perspective, I wish I had that technology many years ago. Then cloud tier, so you can easily offload the data, backup data to different types of object storage that exist there in the clouds. It helps to, let's say, overcome limitations of on-prem storage devices. Then we have a number of alarms in Veeam that's capable of seeing that probably there is sort of ransomware or malware inside of the virtual machines. And to say more, we have a set of technologies built around data labs, that secure restore, stage restore, and through data labs and through our data integration APIs, data can be exposed to third-party solutions to help you with analysis. Yeah. And now let's talk a bit more about those technologies I've just described. So Cloud Tier and Scale Out Backup Repository. Through Cloud Tier, and specifically saying through Cloud Repository or S3 and S3 compatible object storages, you can leverage so-called backup immutability. It means that according to the retention you specify, your data won't be changed. Yeah, so it will be fully immutable to 100%, and no one will be able to do anything with that data, no matter if it's AWS administrator or object storage administrator or backup administrator or malicious insider. That's 100% safetyness for those backups that will be stored in object storage with immutability flag enabled. That's just one tiny tick box, not tiny, but really nice tick box in Veeam backup application, and there you go. Everything will be properly working. Then a few words about secure restore. The main idea behind that technology is to give you the ability to actually Veeam backup application will scan the content of backup files for viruses, malware, ransomware, for everything. Yeah, you can leverage almost any type of antivirus you have in infrastructure to do that. It can work with all the restore operations like instant restore, full VM restore, direct restore to AWS or Azure, or even virtual machine disk exports. And to see more, it can be tied together to Sure Backup. So Sure Backup, that's verification of your backup for recoverability. So once again, your virtual machines will be started directly from a backup file in automatically created isolated environment, and in the same time automatically will run all those AV tests and checks to see if everything is okay inside and no viruses are there. And you can do that on a weekly basis, daily basis, or after each and every new restore point creation. And for me, that's huge. And to say a bit more about data integration API. So you already do have those backups. Why not to use them in order to get additional benefit? Yeah, and you can do that. So that data that's inside the backups, if you want to do so, can be exposed to third-party product solutions for security analysis, forensics, data mining, business intelligence. That could be really helpful in these days when we're always talking about that some sort of malware can be sitting there deep inside, or I know it can be even used to look through all the permissions and settings from security side of things inside of your production VMs, while not overutilizing your production, not overloading it. You can do pretty much the same from backups because they're mirroring your production. And there are two additional interesting things I'd like to stress today. So, as I mentioned before, the core component for us, that's Veeam Availability Suite, and in that's a bundle that consists of backup application and Veeam. Yeah. So in Veeam, that's a solution for monitoring, reporting, business analytics, technical analytics with dashboards, embedded knowledge base articles. It's really powerful thing. And we do have a number of alarms there that are capable of helping you with the ransomware detection. First of all, that's suspicious incremental backup sizes. And the thing is, yeah, that they'll see if the incremental is really huge. If it's huge, it means that lots of things have changed and probably something was encrypted. That's the one. And the second one, that's called possible ransomware activity that detects a sort of a fingerprint of CPU usage, memory usage, and storage usage. So these are the technologies within Veeam availability platform, within our product portfolio that are capable of helping you in modern life, in modern IT life these days. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks, Nick. Thanks, Dean, as well. So what we'll do now, we'll take some questions that I'll pass over to Dean and Nick as our subject matter experts. So feel free to ask any questions. You'll see the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. So feel free. You can ask the question. They will be anonymous. So don't be shy. So one in first, I think I'll fire this over to you, Dean. I think we might sort of cover this, but for me, are there any restrictions to the type of public cloud Veeam integrates? Do you like to comment on that first?
Well, in terms of, it will depend on how you're expecting to integrate public cloud. If it's sort of as a repository, then we're absolutely fine. The tools that Veeam have available are holistic enough and agnostic enough that they can utilize that those technologies. In terms of the richer integrations, that's something that I think Nick would know a little bit more about. I don't know if you care to comment, Nick.
Yeah, sure. It's better to divide it into two parts first, into two pieces. First, we can integrate with different types of public clouds in order to store data over there, different backups of on-premises infrastructures, on-prem VMs, on-prem physical machines. That's the first piece. And the second one is that we can protect workloads in public clouds. So when it comes to data, to store the data over there, actually, if we're talking about just bulk storage, we do support almost anything. When it comes to object storages, to store backups in different types of object storages, that's blob storage, that we support S3 from AWS, all S3 compatible object storages, then IBM Cloud object storage. So that's pretty much almost everything that's there. When it comes to protection of cloud workloads, yeah, that's AWS. Actually, I have to say that if you have virtual machines over there, you can protect all of them easily. Yeah, but for, let's say, AWS and Azure, it works slightly better because we do have ways to have cloud native data protection for those types of workloads.
Okay, thanks, Nick. I've got one here from Brian. This is a bit more technical, so I think I'll point this one straight at you, Nick, and put you on the spot. So when you do a backup copy job to a NAS and password protect the backup, are you protected against ransomware infection of these backup copies?
Oh, actually, yeah, that's a really good question. But from, the short answer is no. But that's not because of Veeam, but that's because of still backup is a file. The content of that file is protected with a password, so you cannot get inside and see what's there, what's the data, business critical data. That's the idea of password protection in IT world, yeah. But it's still a file. Yeah. And if you want to protect those, yeah, there are lots of ways to do so. You can just take this NAS device and attach it as through, I don't know, iSCSI as to a Linux machine. And we all know that all the ransomware and the malware usually being created for a particular operating system type. Just use another type, and no one will be able to encrypt that data, or leverage immutability that I mentioned before, or just offload data to capacity tier of scale out backup repository, specifically say into one of those object storages. That's how you can be protected.
In short, the data within the file is likely to be protected through that password protection, but the file itself and its usability is something that will be compromised in that scenario.
Because in general, the idea of password protection is only about not giving access to the data for those people that are not, not allowed to look there. That's the idea behind the password protection in general in IT world.
Okay, well, thanks, guys. Hopefully, Brian, that give you the answer you're looking for. Hopefully. Okay, so conscious of time, there's no more questions. All I would say that if you do have anyone does have any follow-up questions, then by all means get in touch with your account manager, myself, or drop an email to inoot@servium.com. So what I'm going to do now, just before we go to the prize draws, just launch the poll, and I really appreciate everyone taking time to complete the poll, because it gives us feedback for future webinars and so on. But there are a couple of calls to action for you, our customers, today. So, and you'll be able to indicate that and highlight that in the poll. Firstly, there's an opportunity to engage with Dean to review your backup strategy and tools, and have a sort of open and frank dialogue around that. And secondly, we're in partnership with Veeam. We're offering a month's free trial of Veeam Availability Suite, which does include Veeam One as well. So if you are interested in those two areas of call to action, then please indicate that in the poll, and we'll be in touch with you following the INOOT. So, Dean, thank you very much for that contribution. Some good thought-provoking insights there. So thanks, Dean, and also Nick. Joining us all the way today from St. Petersburg. So thank you very much for continuing the international nature of our INOOT webinar. So thanks again, Nick.
Still glad to be here today.
Thank you. So just to sort of summarize, the next INOOT is on Friday the 13th of November. So unlucky for some. But this INOOT is something a little bit different. And myself and Dean particularly is putting something together based around a scenario analysis, we call it, where we're taking sort of a dive into the economics and complexity of infrastructure with a view to challenging assumptions, and just maybe getting to think a little bit about how some of your best practice principles around infrastructure acquisition and lifecycle management, how they might apply in your organization. And we'll be touching on areas, technology roadmaps around things like licensing, server storage, cloud road mapping, and so on and so forth. So a little bit different next time, but what we call a scenario analysis. So there'll be invites coming out for that shortly. As I mentioned, the webinar is recorded. We'll be sending you a video link to that later on today. And also it will be published on our YouTube channel. So again, as usual, I encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's lots of content on there, not just the current season 4 INOOTs, but the previous 3 seasons, as well as some really good content, technology content as well. So please don't be afraid to jump onto our YouTube channel. Okay, so that's it for me for today. Really appreciate everyone taking the time out to join us. Hopefully you found it useful, and enjoy the rest of your Friday and whatever you're doing when you're socially distancing with your trick and treating tomorrow night. So thanks for that.